Hello and welcome to episode 155 of the Imperial Truth. I'm Greg. Joining me, as usual, is Mr. Howard. Hello, Howard. How are you doing?
Just stumbling over my name. What's
It's
this?
a
What's
tongue
going on?
twister to do at the start of the episode, isn't
Too
it?
many H's. Too many H's.
Yeah.
I'm doing fine, Greg. How are you doing? You all right?
Yeah. Well, yes.
That's a cautious yes.
Knackered.
Where's the usual Greg enthusiasm?
We'll get into that. We'll get into that a
Got
little
to
bit.
ease in to that kind of enthusiasm.
A
I get
little
it.
bit later. Yes. Yes, anyway, we'll talk about all that. Before we go anywhere else, let's talk Element Games, where you will soon be able to buy a big box of Plastic Heresy, plus potentially other Plastic Heresy. Whee! Amazing.
All the Plastic Heresy.
All the Plastic Heresy and all the paints and brushes. I do, back in the Warhammer days, when I was on the Warhammer tournament scene, there was always a kind of a discussion of, I'm starting a new army, so I've bought 3 new brushes. Like it was new army, new brush, and they like try and like start afresh every time they had a project. But yeah, you can go and get all your paints and all. I saw something on Element the other day, and I was like, I didn't know they did that. What was it? I can't even remember what it was now.
I find that happens quite a lot. I find I end up sort of going on there and actually like, oh, they sell. Oh, that is sold now. I've been using a horrible version of that.
Oh no, it wasn't even that. It was like I didn't even know they sold that whole like branch of items. I can't even remember what it is.
You're getting your shopping from them now, aren't you?
Yeah, pretty much. It was just crazy amounts of stuff. But yeah, from airbrushes and everything else. If you are listening to this before May the 4th, I think Element will be joining in this. I don't know if you know this. Star Wars Legion are doing big deals on May the 4th.
I do. I have been keeping my eye out on this. A good friend of mine is a big fan of Legion and has gone fairly big on it. But the deals they put out are crazy.
Basically, it's for the price of a starter set, you get a starter set plus like 3 other boxes.
It's apparently, from what I've heard rumoured, it's about £250 worth of stuff for about £100.
There we go.
Which is pretty good. And Legion's an excellent game. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it played, and there are aspects of it that really don't dig with me. However, that deal has got me really tempted.
Where would you go with it? What of the 4 factions?
I don't know. I have no idea. I don't want to do it. I just don't want to do it. But that's almost too good a deal not to do. So that's bad. That's very bad. But yeah, you can get all your stuff, including books. Remember that as well. So Black Library regular releases can be bought through Element with the usual discounts and stuff. As I say, the one caveat, some of the bigger shops haven't always done the deals with the limited boxes. I don't know. We don't even know how this new box is going to be released. I don't think it will be limited. I think it will be out there. But just check before you go and press order on there that you're getting the price you want, because that's part of the thing, isn't it? I'm not too worried about that. But yes, cool. Element Games, and use the link in the show notes if you want to support us. And then before we go anywhere else, Hans, well, now we've done the advert, I just want to welcome any new Heresy players.
What a good idea! In case there's anyone in Heresy curious out there.
If you stumbled across this podcast, commiserations. But we're. I'm seeing more and more people who aren't necessarily in Heresy yet get very interested in it. Down the club, we've had 3 or 4 people who are like, "Oh, I'm thinking of grabbing some stuff when it comes out." So, yeah, hopefully we're going to see a big rise.
I've seen a lot of people online who perhaps had a unit or 2 from years ago and never built them or otherwise, or also people who perhaps had read 1 or 2 of the books. There's a few people who are starting to circulate that way. I've seen people who have been even dropping out of the hobby for various reasons. I ran into a friend the other day, part of the club, who'd had their first child, something we're quite familiar with here, and he had just started to circle back in and got really excited by the books again. Reading the opening trilogy, he was like, "Oh, that's right. This is awesome, isn't it?" And then there's all of the excitement that's coming around it. So yeah, hopefully we're going to see a whole influx of new people, new interest.
Absolutely, there's a lot lot going on,
Hmm.
which is kind of going to aid Heresy. Not least of which is similar to when the first box set came out. There's quite a few people disgruntled with 40k. Uh,
Yes.
there's the bloat in 40k and
Uh,
the rapid change of rules and the kind of all the other little things, which to some people is great, to some people is not ideal. So
hmm.
we might be getting an element of that. Certainly, there are people at the club who are reaching out towards Lord of the Rings and Age of Sigmar, and I think some of that is then guided towards Heresy as well. So all good, all good. And we're seeing things like the Facebook groups, a lot more people asking questions that we would associate with being newer into the game
Hmm.
system. What's
Or
been
even people
pleasing?
who've done it before and who are
Yeah,
like, "What's the state of play right now?"
yeah,
The usual answer is, "We're not quite sure yet," but it's we're getting some pretty good ideas now. They're sort of ramping up the coverage, and the excitement is definitely building there.
yeah, absolutely. And in fact, we've got Ian on the show, and he's a prime target of that. Someone who used to play Heresy,
Mm.
and then moved away from it a little bit, and is now like really keyed up to the point where he's making loads of video content, which is all really cool for it. Um, what's been nice actually is the level of kind of the responses being positive, not necessarily. I don't mean like super positive, but being handled the right way when people are coming in with questions that
Mm.
are the ones that are asked all the time, which do it is annoying to see the same thing asked 150 times over a week. But if you're new and that question hasn't been answered to you ever, you're still going to ask that question, aren't you?
Mm.
And there have been a few kind of this is bait, and I'm like, who cares if it's bait? Like, actually, just answer the question honestly,
Yeah.
like, and reasonably, and it's fine. It's cool, and you move on because someone else might be
Copy and
reading
paste
it.
it. Copy and paste it from your last time if you're that bothered.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea,
Like,
because as well, someone who's reading it for the first time might assume it's a real comment as well.
mm.
So it's not a bad thing. But I've seen a general kind of approach of trying to help people out. Um, Sometimes misguided, but hey, that's all good. That is all
Just
good.
alternative, Greg. Alternative. It's fine. It's all very.
Yeah,
We're accepting everything.
something like that. Indeed, indeed. But yeah, that's all cool. So
There's
have you been?
definitely an uptick there. There's definitely an uptick around,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. There's a
and a good
lot of
one at
buzz.
that.
A
Yeah, there
lot of
is.
buzz. A lot of even just on Twitter seeing like a few randoms and things that have popped up, like kind of like, oh, I'm thinking about getting some of these, even if it's not necessarily playing,
How are you
collecting them.
generally consuming that kind of stuff? How are you? How do you get? Well, we say that. No, I know. I'll volunteer my version of this in a minute. But what are you across? I mean, is this social media? Is this what is it?
Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I'm on all three.
Mm.
Um, a fair amount. I've got a lot of friends around the world, and Twitter's one of the ways I keep up with a lot of them. I have a um, very manicured Twitter account. I don't see a great deal of the dramas that are going on because I don't follow those people who incite drama. Um, you know, I'll see drama, but not the regular dramas. Those people that we all know about, and Instagram and things like that. Yeah, and Facebook, seeing people who are particularly because I started off, tournament scene was Warhammer for me, and I know people all around the world for Warhammer. In fact, like talking to some Australians about it who I met at events as well, who kind of
Warhammer
interested.
Fantasy.
Fantasy, yeah.
Yeah,
So and now Age of Sigmar,
yeah,
40k to an extent. I didn't play it as many tournaments and stuff, but again, know people rather. But like AT, old Heresy people, I follow people for Blood Bowl and I follow people for Lord of the Rings and stuff like that as well. Um, so I've got a kind of a wider range of hobby kind of like network, as it were.
mm, mm.
So that's where I'm kind of seeing a lot of that.
Yeah. I'm finding Instagram is particularly good
Mm.
um, for inspiration. I've been used to finding people putting some really interesting, exciting stuff up on there. Far less work in progress tends to go up on there. You tend to get finished pieces goes
Yeah,
up on there, and people working on stuff. But there's some really cool stuff and really cool creative ideas going on there. I'm similar with Instagram, probably Instagram first in terms of the stuff I find the most interesting, and sort of it's easy to fall down a rabbit hole with that. Twitter to a degree, I find Twitter just a bit tedious sometimes.
That's fair enough.
It's all right, and it's interesting for sort of news, but I
Yeah,
don't
Twitter.
follow it. I don't use it as a communication tool personally.
This is the thing with Twitter. This is why it annoys me when people are like, "Oh, I'm on this one, but not that one." Well, they all do different things.
Yeah,
And
quite
Twitter,
dramatically different things. Yeah.
I find out um, more information about things that are going on via Twitter than Facebook or Instagram, because
Yes.
you'll get the person on there going, "Oh, I've just seen this, and here's my thought process as a person who does this, and I can break this down." And so sometimes you'll see like people talking about the GW financials. I'm more likely to see that on Twitter than I am any other
Yeah,
system.
you wouldn't
Yeah.
even remotely see that on Instagram.
No, you won't. And occasionally on Facebook, but Facebook can fly by a bit
Facebook,
easier than
yes, you
Twitter.
can, and particularly when you started. I mean, I started looking at this, I realized I had like there was like 100 or so groups I was a part of, or
Yeah, I don't.
150 or something.
Yeah,
You're like, hold on a minute. I had this discussion with a friend, and we were like, hold on, we need to trim this down because you're actually missing. It's largely I tend to be following sort of small businesses that are on there. Groups I find are very good on Facebook. Those are good. Those are very good, particularly if you start asking questions. Currently agonising over what specific colour combination to paint my phalanx warders. Very good to get a like-minded group of Imperial Fist players to just weigh in on that. So that's quite good. I probably wouldn't be reaching out on Twitter or Instagram in the same.
yeah. Again, like so, I go on Discord as well. Discord's one actually, but
Yes,
again, I find
increasingly.
Discord as soon as a group gets above a certain amount, I'm off because it happens too
That's interesting.
fast. You can't keep up.
No,
Like I'm very okay. There's something been going on here. I have to look back and work out
yeah,
what's
I'm a
been
bit the same.
happening. So you end up scrolling through. You can't keep up, and I find that unless on a lot of big discords, people just get left, like
I
ignored.
found that with WhatsApp
Yeah,
as well.
and
WhatsApp groups I
WhatsApp.
found
Yeah, I
similar.
can't. I don't do WhatsApp groups because again, they have notifications, and I turn all these
Yeah.
notifications. Like Twitter, I have some notifications attached. Discord, I don't, and Facebook, I do. But WhatsApp can get in the bin for that kind of stuff. If a group's got more than like my biggest group I'm in for WhatsApp is the cricket group,
Okay.
like and it's all relevant. So it's I can't do these big WhatsApp groups. Fair
No,
play to those who can. But
yeah, I know what you mean. I'm I found the WhatsApp groups once they got over a certain size, that was really problematic. Now, I find that quite tricky to necessarily know how to find them as well. I found the other three we talked about: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You can find those and find the groups and things quite easily. How the hell do you necessarily find the invite link to some of those things? Particularly WhatsApp. I don't know how widespread that is, but Discord,
I
Discord servers, they
I know
feel
with
strange ones.
Age of Sigma, I see people saying, "Is there a WhatsApp group for this? Can someone send me the link?" And that's generally how people get there. Discord, like so, Remembrance's Retreat have a Discord which is of a reasonable size, so it's never too busy. Like if I go on there and I joined some of the like Twitchers and YouTubers, not Twitchers, Twitch people. Like they're not bird watchers. They might be, but that's a different thing. Bill Oddie's Discord. That's a very English
It's
reference
niche.
from a few
That's
years ago,
niche.
isn't
Come
it?
on.
Show me age. Yeah, a few Twitch people or popular people, their individual Discords, and I was just like,
Yeah, okay.
there's too much on here. So I've seen people promote their own, like Crusade and Heresy. There's a Discord. I don't know how linked it is to Crusade and Heresy, and there's a Horus Heresy one. Every now and then I see people just asking, "Is there a Discord for this?" But like loads of podcasts have them, which is why I don't, because loads of others do. I don't need more work like managing Discord. So yeah, I'm on one. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got 5 or 6 Discords. Like I've got a
I
few
love the
individual
fact that you
ones.
can just glance over at that.
Yeah, I've got it here. It's all good. So I've got
As he
like,
glances over through his bionic implants.
indeed, we've got like, there's one very specific for an event I'm going to soon. There's one for a Heresy podcast, 2 for a Heresy podcast, another one which is Horus Heresy, which is hardly, well, never used. To be fair, could probably come out of it. we've got our gaming club uses Discord to organise
Mm.
everything because it's easier than Facebook, and then we've got like some role playing Discords. So literally, it's not very much. On Twitter, I follow 496 accounts, and that
Yeah,
is
well,
for
mine's probably
things
similar.
like cricket as well and football, other podcasts I listen to. Like, so I'm not interacting with a lot of those.
Mm.
Um, so I dread to think, and some of them are just cool, like Kermode and Mayo's new podcast when that comes out next week or whenever it is. I'm following that, and
At the moment,
why am I
I've got
following
to
that?
say, that's where Twitter comes into its own. To a certain amount,
I think
Facebook.
it's the.
I find that at the
I think
moment it's
Twitter is
particularly
the
good.
easiest. Sorry, carry on.
Oh,
Particularly good for what?
at the moment, it's particularly good at really working with the excitement of stuff. As something
All
hits
right.
it, like you can be suddenly be like, as
Yes.
suddenly something starts to break, I'll be like, oh, have you just seen this? They've just posted this, or someone's rumored this or whatever, and suddenly that you get that ripple of people sharing it and getting buzzing about it, and you're like, that's quite cool.
Well,
I'm all for the hype train.
yeah. Yeah. I find it. Instagram's great for looking at a hobby, but like the stories and then the posts and the way people use the both
Mm.
frustrates me a little bit with Instagram. Um, but Instagram and Twitter, you can like the one problem I have with Facebook groups is you can't control who's on there unless it's your Facebook group.
Yeah.
So you're getting content that you're sitting there thinking meh, whereas I can look down my Twitter account and every now and then I'm like yeah, why am I following that person anymore? I'll take them off.
Mm.
Um, and then every now and then I see someone post something and I'm like, oh, they've retweeted something cool, so it's of interest. Go into it. Oh, that's an account worth following, or it's not.
Mm.
Um, every now and then someone retweets too much stuff, and I'm like, you're gone, you're annoying. But
That is a
I
highly
find it's
curated Twitter account.
well, yeah, I just think it has to be like otherwise
Yeah,
you're
it's
just
healthy. It's
trawling through
healthy.
rubbish, and you're like.
Yeah, it's healthy to
But
do
I
that, I
do
think.
find Twitter, provides information better than any of the other
I'd
sources.
say sort of uniformly across all of those that we've talked about, there's been that buzz
Yeah, yeah,
about
absolutely.
Heresy. There's no one standing out above the others or one that's dropped away.
And
YouTube is
I'm
another, of course. YouTube is
yes,
another source.
yeah, well,
There's quite a bit.
I because don't I don't interact with YouTube, so I never comment on stuff.
No, me
So
neither.
I treat it a bit different to the other ones, but yeah,
I'm describing them
um,
more as a bit more of across all of those. I'm describing them more as a consumer than a
yeah. I don't
contributor.
watch much heresy content on YouTube either.
It's
A
not
lot of,
much. There's not a great deal there.
no, no, indeed, not a great deal that I want to consume.
I would say I'd say there isn't that
Yeah,
much.
there is less, but even then, I don't want to
Mm.
consume some of it that's on
Yeah.
there. Um, but yeah, it's all good. Yeah, and even if Elon does buy Twitter, which I'm not sure he will, I'm staying there because you know what? Anyone who owns these places, none of them are great people.
Yeah, it's
I tell you
irrelevant,
that
isn't it?
for
It's
nothing. It
irrelevant.
doesn't
Who
matter whether
cares?
it's Zuckerberg or
Who
Musk
cares? It's
or
too high above
whoever.
it.
Like
It doesn't
it's
fundamentally change anything. I don't think,
no,
personally.
I get what I can get out of it. I don't think they're making a great deal of money off me and my information, bless them. But hey, it's all good. It's all good. So yes. Anyway, that's our discussion of social media.
I took that on a bit of a random angle there, but on a bit of a
That's us, isn't
tangent.
it?
But if
If
people
you
are
are new to
starting,
us and you don't want slightly more, I don't know how to describe our show compared to some others. We do go into topics, don't we? We do choose some of the
we
more.
do.
I'm, I'm not going to say highbrow because it's probably
Whoa!
not highbrow, but we
You
do
say,
sometimes go places other podcasts don't reach in the heresy community anyway.
that's a really polite way of saying, yeah, with the academia end of things. No, not even slightly. Tangent. Let's go strong with tangent.
Pretentious
Tangent and then
maybe.
run with it. Yeah,
Pretentious
I'll own
could
that.
work.
I'll
Yeah,
own that.
yeah.
Yeah,
We are the pretentious
I
podcast.
could
That's fine.
speak to a number of my friends. I could own that title very
Yeah.
comfortably.
So could a number of your friends. So it's fine.
Wow. Wow, shots
It's all
fired.
good.
Jeez.
Now Howard's trying to work out which ones I mean.
No, no, I'm not. you,
No,
you,
I've got my names.
even better. You don't know some of the
Well,
worst.
true. Yeah, I can imagine. It's all good. All good. Anyway, so have you been heresying?
I have. really quite involved with that. I had a little bit of time off work, kinda, as much as these things ever are, and I currently sat in front of me, ready to be appreciated, is 20 Phalanx Warders, which I've been wanting to build for a while, and I've got the shields painted, got the heads painted, got the weapons all lined up, got them all ready to go. I've got a couple of apothecaries, got a couple of Legion Command for the Imperial Fists. What else have I got? I finished off a squad of 20 tacticals.
Nice.
I've got the 2 Praetors kind of done,
Right.
and most of Fafnir Ran done. So I've been quite enjoying
Cool.
the Imperial Fists. Might
Someone's
try and
got
get
to.
some breaches done. Yeah, might try and get some breaches done. Oh, I need to do their Contemptor. Really want to get the Contemptor done. So yeah, been enjoying Heresy actually at the moment. Not going forward nearly as quickly as I want.
Yeah, it can
Slightly
be bad.
thinking I need to do as much as I can before, because at any moment now, literally any moment now, we will be joined by our firstborn. So if you
Indeed.
suddenly hear me dropping the
That's not a
microphone and running,
firstborn marine you're talking
yeah,
about.
yeah, it
Okay,
is,
yeah.
yeah.
Come out.
That's,
Little power
so yeah,
armored dude.
yeah, as has to. Customary. They're shorter, apparently.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's trying to get some hobby in before that potentially kicks everything off. So when I'm falling asleep at the mic in the next show, we know why.
Yeah, absolutely. No.
Although you're
Well,
making it look easy, so yeah.
that's because I'm not doing any of it. That's because Emma, bless her, is deserving of some time after this weekend. She is going to be yeah. There's going to be a few kind of I
She's going to
can't
be
say
trading
no.
in
I
those
can't say
vouchers.
no to a few things.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
fair. That's fair.
because the timing of stuff recently has been, you know, I mean, it could be worse. Don't get me wrong, but it's been terrible. It's just been like, why did this have to happen at this point in time? But hey, life is meant to try us, as they say. Life is suffering.
Yeah,
So you
that's
know,
how you know you're
but
alive.
exactly, it could be. You know, I've got to be thankful for how things are. Littleton's been a bit of a yeah. I mean, it depends what the how your baby is as well, and what problems come with them. Because it's a
Well,
baby, they're
indeed.
going to have problems. Ours has been a little bit demanding, but not too demanding. Like he's had issues, but he himself isn't too demanding. Um, thank God, because otherwise I don't think I'd have got anything done. And Emma, as I say, but she's been an absolute trooper. So yeah, I owe her big. But I have because I have been doing stuff, but stuff that is as of yet not quite finished. So yeah, and then we're going to have not necessarily a break, but a slowdown.
Okay, you're not going to go for a palate cleanser.
Well, I just say I don't know how much time I'm going to have to do it.
Yeah, fair
Although
enough.
I am kind of. I've also got an Age of Sigmar tournament coming up in July, so I need to finish off 3 big gargants for that. So that kind of has to take precedence over.
Are you reading any Heresy at the moment?
I'm trying when I get
I
time. I
was
just
going to say,
finished
with all that free
Sigismund.
time you've got,
Did finish Sigismund.
I'm
Uh,
about 2/3 of the way through Sigismund. I finally made some traction with that because
yeah.
I'd been trying to finish off a couple of other things. But
So
I hate reading multiple things, but
I
I'm in that realm at the moment.
I put it with the hospital bag just in case we were going to be
Yeah.
in labour and nothing happening for a day or two,
Mm.
and that didn't happen. So it was in the hospital bag from that time, and like 8 weeks later, I finally got around to reading it during my lunch breaks when I've not been falling asleep, um, which affected my reading of the book a little bit. But it was
We should
good.
have a conversation about that, as I'm really enjoying Sigismund, but I think there's some significant things in there. I think.
Yeah, I might have to get it on audio when it comes
Mm.
out
Mm.
and re-listen to it. Just to, but there's some really cool stuff in.
There is.
In fact, one of the best things about it was someone else put up an excerpt from the book, which was the scene where he meets with a load of other
Mm-hmm.
captains. I want to say
They're at that point. If it's the bit I think you're talking about, it's he meets. He's waiting to enter the Temple of Oaths
yes. So, but yeah,
with a
so,
bunch of other
so
kind of guys who are
wannabes,
yeah, why not? Whoa, whoa,
aspirants
whoa, hold
to
on,
that,
come on, here we go.
aspirants to
Yeah,
that, to those titles, or no, or just meeting. Yeah.
yeah.
It's
All
of
of them are
various levels.
yeah, they're all required to give their oaths when they can.
Yes,
There's a bunch of them there,
and they're and all of them are like, well, a lot of them are in various different armor plate colors schemes,
and even
and
armor
in,
plate
yeah, and armor
designs.
plates as well,
Yeah.
and embellishments and all
Mm.
that kind of stuff. Which, and this is during the Heresy, Great Crusade. Sorry. Yep.
It's Great Crusade. Yeah.
Yep. During the Great Crusade, because it's all, yeah. So during the Great Crusade, and I just think it's really nice and to see that being portrayed very openly, um, and it's kind of mixed with a little bit the one room I do kind of want to mention because I think it's quite significant is in the playtest documents that people have seen. The one thing I've heard, well, one of the things that people have heard people talk about is that warlord traits are moving to loyalist specific warlord traits, traitor specific warlord traits, and then neutral ones
Mm.
somewhere in the middle. And for the first time in a while, I've seen a number of people talk about doing traitor versions of loyalist legions or loyalist versions of traitor legions that aren't the normal Dark Angels, Alpha Legion,
Mm.
maybe White Scars at push. This is the first time I've seen people saying, "Oh, I'm thinking about doing a traitor, whatever Blood Angels army or a loyalist."
Even that, I'd say, is you do tend to. Well, you're right. It's clearly less common than the ones you're
Yeah,
talking about. But Blood Angels assume traitor Ultramarines.
exactly. All those
That's
all
cool.
those kind of things where they're really like, you know, and I understand it to a point. I don't because I'm of a mindset where I'm like, well, the book told us we could do this anyway.
When I read those rumors, I thought immediately of you, and I thought I actually heard your voice behind me going, "You could always do that.
Yeah, that's
You
because
could always do that."
I was behind you. Um,
He's always watching.
but
But
there is an
it's
element
true. But this is
of
inspiration.
yeah.
I would say it's
It's not.
inspiration.
There's a little bit of inspiration, and there's a little bit of people need to feel
Encouragement.
they're allowed to do it, and
Yeah. Okay.
this makes people feel like they're allowed to do it because you hear the thing is you hear people's language change. They're like, oh,
Mm.
you can do trade or whatever. I'm like, but you always could. Like, you still get this in Titanicus quite a lot,
Mm.
where they talk about, well, I play Legion, oh, what do you want to play? Oh, that, oh, okay, the good guys. And it's like, well, it doesn't have to be. And that is expected. Like, sometimes I'm overzealous sometimes with the way I go about it, and that's fine. But they don't have the option. Their loyalist and traitor thing is worked out in a much larger scale.
Mm.
So you don't necessarily worry about that. Although I could see them doing it a little bit and changing that up. And we see that with the current rules for this edition for the White Scars,
Yes.
whatever they were called, can't remember now for the life of me. Where
The
they've got,
five finger death punch guys.
yeah, exactly, Kill Bill. Yeah, for the exemplary battle and the
The really sort of, we're not just going to kill you, we're going to
murderize
psychically
you.
destroy you as well. It was they're pretty mean, aren't they? But yes, there's them. There's also the deliverers. I want to say deliverers, the Raven Guard Terminators that
Sorry,
are
yes, that's the ones I was thinking of actually. Yeah, the deliverers.
okay. Deliverers, the
Uh,
slightly, well, we had our place and Korax isn't so keen on us kind of
and
guys. So
they've got as that special rule that if they are traitors, they get a different rule. Um, and these things, yeah. Otherwise, without that, people do get very. I think human minds get set up. Stereotypes are stereotypes for a reason,
mm,
and we have stereotypes for a reason because as a species we hold on to those and we utilize them. They're they're a very useful tool, but they in general society they become more than a very useful tool, and they become archetypes become really strong because of that, and then it can be hard for people to break away from those archetypes. But yeah, so I think that the combination of seeing a Black Library book which is explicit in showing you. Yeah, I don't know how many different types of Imperial fists that were around during the Great Crusade. Like they're all still Imperial fists. They're just wearing campaign colours or
Mm.
camo or what have you. Um, so it's so when people say, "Oh, how do I paint my Imperial fists?" It's easier for people to go, "Well, you know, how do you want? What ideas you got? Because you don't just have to paint them yellow or black. If you want to do Templars, because that was always, oh, you could paint them black, or you can paint them whatever you want.
Mm.
And actually, with the influx of 40 or people who are newer to the heresy who maybe got a history of 40k, things like, oh, can I paint my custodes a different thing to gold in the heresy? Yeah, you can.
Mm.
And just seeing more representation, that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. It's again a
That's going to be
pretentious
really
way of
interesting.
looking at it.
Yeah, but I think that's going to be
Um,
really interesting to see some,
yeah,
and I think it's going
and
to
yeah,
encourage that kind of bring your own version of it, bring your own ideas,
and
rather
there are
than
going to
well, no, there's
be,
this way, and which is still room for, of course.
yeah,
But I think there's going to be plenty of, oh, I'm going to try this, and it's quite nice to see little elements of that, which, as you say, they've always been there. The black books in particular have been quite encouraging of that.
mm,
But and then I love that someone pointed out, speaking of Sigismund specifically, one of those armor schemes, paint schemes that's mentioned, is what there's a pauldron, a dark blue pauldron with stars on it, on this Imperial fist, and it's quite cool. And like this sort of dark blue scheme thing going on, and it's actually a reference. And someone on the Facebook, who's Matt Swift, I think it was, came up on one of the Facebook groups and said, "Oh yes, that's actually this paragraph on page 74 of Book 3, Black Book," and you're like, what? That's quite cool. Had a little read, and yeah, it's a reference to this specific company, which is quite a big thing in Heresy, um, that recruit from this particular world and honour that world because of this. And you're like, that's awesome. That's He's expanded it. He's
yeah.
made this reference to a very niche part of the Black Book, and
He probably
there's sort
wrote
of
it.
links. Yeah, probably did. Yeah, so yeah, the
Probably
original
did.
footnote. Yeah, but it's those
So,
sorts of things are
yeah.
just amazing.
What will be interesting? So I know, like someone say, if I take Cole Tuttle when he was on the, I talked to him a few times about Heresy, and he was doing his Heresy stuff for the independent characters. And I know for him, playing in the Heresy was he wanted to see the more stereotypical
Hmm.
images because that was his version of it was. So, and I can understand that as well. That's not, it's one of those things. But I wonder if there's going to be a little bit of, well, actually, I do want my heresy to be that way, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It's the way you go about speaking about that and and the way you do it. By
Hmm.
you can say that's cool, crack on. I want my heresy games to be more down this line. That's
Hmm.
fine. You're going to have less people to play against. That's down to you. Just long as it's just long as it's not, you can't do that. That's the difference. And there's
Hmm.
been a bit of discussion recently on a few podcasts about the difference between standards and gatekeeping,
Hmm.
and I think that's a tricky thing because I think also when you talk about standards, you have to be very clear in your definition of standards.
Hmm.
So having era specific painting and modeling, yep, cool, fine. If you're doing an event in an era, and if that era could be the Heresy plus Great Crusade, because let's face it, most people aren't going to turn away a Lunar Wolves army,
Hmm.
um, even though it's not Heresy era specific.
Hmm.
So like there's a little bit of grey area there as well. Um, but when you talk about standards, I also hear people talking about really well painted armies, and I'm like, hold on, I
Hmm.
can't paint really well. And even if I try my hardest for a very long time, I can paint okay. So am I allowed? Because I'm
Hmm.
not a very good painter. And
The tricky
99% of the
thing,
time, these people don't mean that,
no,
but it comes across that way.
it's tricky because a lot of people. I agree with you, and the reason it's tricky because often people will say, well, not say, you get a feeling that as long as someone's put in effort, that is the it's been difficult to turn someone away or difficult to have to
Yeah,
say I'm not going to enjoy this game. when someone's put in a lot of effort. But we're talking about largely subjective things. And what one
Yeah.
person's effort is a different thing for a different person, or whatever. It's a very
Oh,
difficult
big time.
ground to work through, I think, and it's going to come down to
I
individual
think
groups and individuals, I think.
I think I saw into Henry Steele about this. It might have been on Full Stride actually, because there's a similar thing with AT. You hear a lot with Adeptus Titanicus that it's the best. Like there's the painting and modelling is the best of anything. Like, and someone actually said at the event I was at Greetings, I heard someone on a podcast say every army, or was it in Goonhammer? Well, it might have been both. Every army there was painted really well. My mate Jack, who I borrowed an army off, will be delighted to hear that, but he will also paint it, put his hand up and say, "I sprayed it," and then I just like filled in the colour because that's
Mm,
what he does with all his models. He wants it painted so it looks okay, and it did look okay, and it looks good, but it's not. It doesn't represent what other people are saying. Oh, every
mm,
army's amazing on the table. It's not. It's good, like, and that's fine, and that's not a problem.
mm,
But you're creating expectation that actually can put people off. Um, and it's not intentional.
mm.
But,
No.
but but take me and Henry. So Henry and I can paint an army. I could put in 80% effort. He could put in 40% effort. His army will still look better than mine.
Hmm.
But technically, you're saying he's not painting to the
Exactly.
best of his ability.
And that's kind
And
of
then
what I
it's like,
mean
well,
by
why?
effort is a tricky thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And I'm never. I've said I'm never going to paint an army to the best of my ability because I don't have the time. Because the best
Mm,
of my ability would mean the models I've got in front of me now would have taken me 4 times longer than they have, and I've got other stuff to paint, mate. Right?
your point, I think, is a
Oh,
really interesting one, though. Your point about, because you think, well, a lot of these discussions that go on about it, like, well, no one's policing it. No one's. What does anyone actually mean when they say, "Well, I don't agree with that"? Well, great. You're just not going to play that one person or whatever. You're just going to do yourself out of a game. I've never quite understood that. It's like a different conversation if it's a tournament, and if someone's got the authority of a tournament organizer, fine. But then that's usually made quite clear. But the point about putting people off and about encouraging people to either be a part of it, like you say, if they say, well, Titanicus is this, because it's got this perception of being consistently extremely high hobby standards or hobby quality, does that put people off? Maybe. Um, and similarly, this idea that you're going to, every game you'll play, you'll be looked down upon by others for playing it, that would be negative. It's interesting that because that changes the way one might speak about it, because that might make you second guess or somehow, I don't know, think carefully about how you're even making observations
well,
in trends
every
in
now and
things.
yeah,
Mm.
every now and then I do see something like, oh, I couldn't go to a tournament because I'm not good enough to play.
Hmm. Mm.
Right? It's similar to that, and I've seen people say, "Oh, well, my army's not good enough to go to an event." It's like, yeah, it is. Like,
Mm.
you know, like it's fine. It's like,
Mm.
yeah, and that's all it is. It's fine. It doesn't look bad. I'll have seen worse armies at events than yours. Trust me,
Mm.
my friend. That kind of attitude. But um, and it's all good. It's all well intentioned, but um, we sometimes forget that we're looking at it from the inside, knowing what's okay. And that's where things like when you're at an event, like some of the events are using the GW picture model of what's acceptable,
Mm.
and that's fine because there is because if I run an event and you want to bring unpainted stuff, sorry, you're not coming to the event. You
Mm.
know, so standards are there,
Mm.
um, but it's making sure we're portraying those standards and talking about those standards in the right way and giving them the right value. Um,
Mm.
and actually, if you want to go to something like the old Ming Invitational or SM Battle Reports is a modern example of this. Actually, their standards are up a higher level.
Mm.
Um, I don't think they're as high as some people think they are, because
Mm.
again, armies can look good without being a really high level of painting.
Army painting is a very different skill
Yeah,
to
as well. Yeah,
figure painting.
exactly, and that's why Neil Hollis will never have an army because he can't paint an army.
Yeah.
He can paint he can paint golden demon winning figures. But he does have that thing
Yeah.
where he almost everything he paints, he tries to paint it to the best of his ability. so he won't have an army. Simple as that.
Yeah, it would.
And I'm not
It's
prepared to do that.
you
I've got
can't you
thousands of
can't
pounds of models in this place.
yeah, you can't turn around. You just can't be putting that many hours. You just when you work out how much time you spent on an individual model, if you're doing it as a project management exercise, you're like, I spent
Yeah,
10 hours on this figure, and I've got 50 of them to do minimum. Yeah, well, it's not feasible, is it? You wouldn't.
no,
I would
no,
applaud anyone who would have the dedication to apply that. Great, but it's just not. It's a different. It's a
that's
different
it.
skill set. Completely different skill
It
set.
is absolutely, and you have to. Every single person will have to balance that level of effort to time it takes to what they want to
Mm.
see. And it's a sliding scale, and every single person is a different starts from a different point as well.
Yeah, I
I've never
completely
had
agree. And
anyone.
no, crack on.
So, in fact, so my arm, I've always said it. I try and paint between the lines.
Hmm.
Uh, I might do the odd little thing here and there. I'm not even that good at dry brushing. Like it's a skill. Dry brushing is a skill, and I'm a bit
Yeah,
lazy with it. So
it's another one in
mine
the
aren't
tool.
great. Yeah. So I don't actually do a great deal of dry brushing outside of like chain link and things like that. The really easy stuff. Um, But when I was at Warhammer World playing Art Stevenson and his World Eaters were looking fantastic, all gored up to the nines, someone came past and said, "I really like your robots," about my Mechanicum. And I'm like, I felt embarrassed. I'm like, his models are way better. But she liked my robots. Like,
Hmm.
that's fine. Like, it's cool. They were fairly strong, bold colours, being red, and they were painted okay. A bit of
Hmm.
an edge highlight, but that's what she liked. It's cool. She didn't mention
I think
anything
we
about arts
can,
models.
particularly if you're immersed in the thing as we are. I would say your scale of these things can become skewed of
Yeah.
what you think is good and what isn't. When you're constantly seeing people who are really where it's their hobby first and foremost,
Mm.
the painting or otherwise, and you start judging it by those standards. We've come a long way in the last 20, 30 years. You look at what
So,
was winning Golden Demon and otherwise, like you say, someone
oh,
walking up, you look at the things like people see figures, toys, models, whatever that are pre-painted or otherwise, not for war games or otherwise, and they're like, "Yep, that's acceptable, whatever. That's quite cool, that paint job or whatever." And you think, well, that's what people are putting out and would put out on the table, like you say, the robots of the Mechanical Army that are painted to a tabletop standard, whatever that is, and it's by many standards you do forget. I mean, put models, particularly Titanicus models, I put in front of people who know nothing about
yeah,
the hobby, and they're like, sorry, what you made that? That's not actually metal. Sorry,
yeah,
you painted a metallic. What? And it blows people's minds that
yeah.
you can be that realistic, and you
The
think,
best
oh yeah, I
example of that
forgot.
is, yeah. So when I came back from Adepticon one year, I had an owl bear in my in my bag, and Emma decided she wanted to try painting, so we got it out and she painted it. And when she put it on Facebook, people were saying stuff to her that she was saying to me about my models. She was
Hmm.
like, "It's not that well painted," and I'm like, "But this is the same for you and me because my standards are looking at other people." I think you're right. I think the top level of painting hasn't necessarily got that much better, the very top, but the middle has raised a lot.
I I I don't know. I think the top has as well. I think
Oh,
there's because
I
there's more
think
people trying more things.
yeah, I think there's finer margins up there. I think if
I
you went
agree.
back and looked at some
Diminishing
of the
returns
older,
as well.
yeah, but some of David Soper's old, winning models, go and look back at Mike McVeigh's old stuff. Some of it will stand up, but
Yeah.
definitely that thick middle um,
Yeah.
has raised a lot because there are YouTubes, there's Patreons, there's blogs, there's
Oh yeah.
airbrushes everywhere, there's whole new paints everywhere. Like all of that has meant that the base standard has moved, and now it's down to like whether you want to get your models painted or not, basically.
Hmm.
Because some people
Hmm.
don't. Because some people really don't enjoy paint. I'm not a fan of painting. I'm not
Whereas,
a painter.
no, I was going to mention this, and my friend Stu and I have a good comparison here. Whereas his priority is to get stuff on the table to play games.
Yeah,
He wants them painted. He wants it to be immersive. He
yeah,
wants to enjoy it, and to the point where he's now probably buying more painted stuff than he is necessarily doing that. Although that said, he then buys it at a base level to elevate it to a standard he thinks is acceptable.
Yeah.
Whereas for me, a larger proportion, not most, but larger proportion of the enjoyment of the hobby is the building and the painting.
Yeah.
More probably at least an equal with the gaming. The gaming is better because it's more social. That's a huge part of it for me. But the modelling and the painting is as much the hobby. It isn't for everyone by a long, long shot. And
No.
a lot of people want methods and quick methods. But even that, like you say, with all the tutorials and all of the techniques out there, we are in a period where you can get stuff that looks pretty, that you can be pretty proud of, and it stands up
Yep.
amongst a range of things you see.
Yeah. That's me.
Particularly when you see it as an army, and you
I
think,
don't like.
well, yay.
I don't like painting. I like owning an army that I've painted.
Yeah.
That I think is acceptable.
Yeah.
Anyway, we should move on from all that.
We should. We could talk about this for days.
Yeah,
We need to draw a line on it.
Another short segment from us, when we were just going to have a brief conversation before getting into all the new stuff. So, should we talk about the new box? And we'll collate all the articles over the last month, the Heresy Thursday articles, where they have shown us Plastic Mark 6. What else have they shown us? Praetors.
Both Praetors now.
A plastic Spartan and a fully posable plastic Dreadnought.
Good articles, I thought, and good kind of no shockers there with the way it came out. Enjoyed it though, and particularly enjoyed seeing the Mark 6 explored. I thought the most divisive were the Praetors. By a distance.
Yeah, definitely.
Everyone seemed to be, the community generally seemed to be very positively behind all the other things that came along, as one might expect. Can't wait to get my hands on them now. There was also the lore articles that kind of went alongside. They came out on the Fridays, didn't they? They did the model on the Thursday, and then the lore articles on Friday.
I've seen, like, the thing is, the key to remember is this. All these articles and this box, to an extent, is not meant for Heresy players.
Really? The box? No. No, the box. Well,
but the articles aren't either. The articles aren't.
No, the articles absolutely not. No, absolutely.
Current Heresy players, but even that box,
absolutely
right?
Agree.
Like, GW, for Heresy players, if they release that Mark 6 in a different way, like this box, we can expect. So we see it now, like, so, 40 Marines, 10 Terminators, as we thought from when we first saw it. Spartan, the contempt of the 2 characters, plus, we're getting dice here, templates. What else does it say it comes with? It doesn't say. Okay. It says that's the box contents, but when we look at all similar sized boxes, they probably come with a rule book.
I mean, it seems logical, doesn't it? Think of it like, I still think it's positioned, speculation here, it's positioned like a launch box. I keep seeing the phrase starter box. It's the wrong phrase. It's a launch box. So, it's a celebration.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can expect probably a rule book in there, and then some rules, like enough rules for you to be able to play the game, like as in unit rules and stuff like that, but maybe not the actual like equivalent of the codex or what have you, but some other gumph in there, right? If you were selling that, but that will then come at a discount. Yeah. If you were selling this to Heresy players, you wouldn't need all of that. Current Heresy players, you wouldn't need all of that in a box. You could reduce that down for Heresy players. If you're a 40k player who is Heresy curious, this provides you with a full army.
Okay. I don't entirely agree.
That's fair enough. But
because I think your Heresy players are going to be the ones who are excited and are prepared to drop a larger chunk of change on it, as opposed to a curious player who wants to start out. Are they going to jump it? Clearly some are. clearly some are going to
But
want
they
to jump
have.
in with a ready to
So
build army.
I don't think this is. Yeah. So I don't think this isn't for new people. This isn't a starter
Clearly,
box, as you
no.
say, right? This isn't for people who are outside Heresy. Someone did talk about this being the case at Adepticon, that someone was saying this, but it fits with what I was thinking. I play 40k. Oh, Heresy! I really want to get into Heresy, and I want a good force to start with. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll buy that whole box.
Hmm.
Fine. Say, take me now. I'm looking at it going, well, I've got loads of Marines. Maybe I'll get some Mark 6. Do I need 40? You
Hmm.
know,
Hmm.
unless I'm going to start an army which is based around Mark 6. Probably not. I've already got my Cataphracti. I don't need any of them. I've got plenty of Contemptors. Another one, cool. Yeah, maybe. Plastic Spartan. Yeah, I'm down with that. The Praetors. I've already got plenty of Praetors. And I know that the resin ones are, the Legion specific resin ones are generally very good. Yeah, maybe. Like, don't get me wrong, Heresy players excited about this and will be buying some. But if you've got two of you in a group who play 40k or Age of
Well, yeah.
Sigmar, actually, let's go in, get this box together, and we're ready to go with Heresy with enough stuff. That box has got enough stuff to play a game between,
Yeah.
or to be a whole army for someone. I don't think many Heresy players need this box in that respect. Will they buy it because there's lots of cool stuff in there? Yeah, of course they will.
Also,
But
you tend to, we're talking in trends here, so this is hard to say, but I would. You said before on the show that how many Heresy players? You've said it before in discussion with others where getting people into the Heresy. You said how many Heresy players have more than one army? It's a lot.
yeah,
It's quite a lot of them, and this to me is going to be that jumping off point for a lot of Heresy players who are excited.
oh
They want the book at the earliest opportunity.
yeah, definitely.
They want to play. Be interesting. What would be really interesting is if when they release this box, is if they release the rulebook at the same time.
They
That
better
would be
do.
very interesting.
They really should do. They'd be,
Yeah, I would imagine so.
they've done crazy things in the past,
Did
but I
they do
really
it?
hope
Did they
so.
do it with
Indomitus.
the Indomitus
I,
and
I
Devastation or
cannot
whatever?
remember. I think they did with Indomitus. I can't remember, to be honest. And
Dominion,
they did with
Dominion and
that
Devastation.
Dominion. I think they did with the
Yeah,
Dominion.
it seems
Um,
logical.
so yeah,
It,
like, don't get me wrong. When you're designing this box, you still want Heresy players to buy it. I don't think that's their prime target with this one. And
mm,
someone else said, like, this is a launch of the new edition of Heresy.
mm,
You don't need to sell that to Heresy players. They're
no.
already in. So this is, and what does Heresy need? What do we talked about? Well, if it's going plastic, you need to sell more
Mm,
because to make the numbers work. So this isn't for Heresy players. This is for people, getting people from other game systems into Heresy. This box is also not to get people into Warhammer,
no,
because
that absolutely
that's
not. No.
yeah, because that's where your small boxes for
Yeah.
40k and Age of Sigmar come in, and Heresy, because of the nature of still probably going to have plenty of resin, is not the place to get them to start. Don't get me wrong, they can still do it, but it's not the place you funnel them into to start with. Your 8-year-old who walks in off the shop, oh yeah, get this, get this, get this. Oh, and then you can buy a Primarch model, right? For £94. Like, that's not ideal. So I think the target market is getting more people into the Heresy, and I think it's going to work. And they
Yes, I
are
agree.
also going to
I think
sell a
it's a
lot
really
to
I think it's quite a
Heresy players.
well-judged box. I really do.
Yeah,
I think it's
yeah,
quite a
it's
well-judged
decent.
because if you wanted to start an army, I think you're going to see, and if you started doing a bit of research on
Yeah,
it, I've already seen people say this is quite a good starting point for a
oh, big
Heresy
time.
army. Two big 20-man tactical squads,
It's
10 Terminators, a Spartan, and a
or
Contemptor. These are classic things
oh
you would
yeah,
buy.
yeah.
I think they've judged that quite well to capture those people who would be like, well, I want an army in one go. That would be quite cool to work towards at a discount, crucially.
Yeah.
So I want to unlock that discount. So I want this in
And
one
I'm
go.
I'm looking at this as a guy with lots of stuff to paint, yeah, and going, yeah, Mark 6 are cool. Am I that bothered? I love the fact they've got no trim. As we're saying, though, is if these shoulder pads are like Zephyrin's shoulder pads, then that takes some of that trim effort you're not painting and puts it into the building. Um, but I don't
There's
need
got
the
to be a way.
cataphract.
I'm going to work out a way to make that work.
I
It's,
don't. I don't need the cataphracti. Do I need 40 Mark 4 Marines? Contempted
but
Dreadnought in plastic,
you're someone
cool.
who's going all in on one legion and always
Well, not
will.
necessarily, because I could do it for another legion, and then there's that, because there is that decision. Because for all that we've talked about, every a mark of armor, every legion, everything for every legion, people have their preferences.
Mm-hmm.
And so people are like, I like my wolves in Mark 4. I like my Iron Warriors in Mark 3. I want my White Scars in Mark 2. I like my Raven Guard in Mark 6. Actually, I like my Raven Guard in Mark 4. You know, people have preferences for
Mm-hmm.
legions. So also there will be an element of some people will be looking at this going, perfect. Actually, I want to do Emperor's Children, or I want to do, uh, um, Raven Guard, or I want to do whatever, and I've been waiting for Mark 6. I want to do it all in Mark 6. And Mark 6 is a popular form of armor. But again, like if you're talking about getting people excited, people my age and a little bit older who remember Rogue Trader
Mm.
and remember the classic Beaky Marines being, much more in the forefront of Space Marines. It's a call out to them as well. Here's a nostalgia hit for you. But but yeah,
I wasn't playing. I didn't play Road Trader. I
no,
came in. I came in second edition,
same
fairly
here.
early on in second edition, but still. So I was very much the Mark 7 Blood Angels. But the thing that it's really referencing to me, and there was quite a lot, there was quite an uptick in this as people were exploring the relevance of Mark 6 recently, and people sharing artwork. It's cold back to Titan Legions and Space Marine and Epic
Yeah,
to me, and the artwork of that had a lot of Mark
yeah.
6 in it, and it's really evocative of that period, and it's strong for it. It's making me think, well, yeah, actually, that's quite cool, just as an
We've never
army at a different
mentioned
scale.
why the beak, have we?
Why the
So for
beak?
those, yeah, do you know why the beak is there on Mark 6 Marines?
In lore or
Yeah, in the
in
lore,
design wise?
in the
No, I
background.
don't actually.
Okay, you probably do. You've probably read it and forgotten it.
Yeah, that's most likely it, but I can't. I
It
couldn't tell you
covers.
now. I'd be
It's got
making it up.
loads of sensor equipment in there.
Has it?
Yeah, so that's part of the reason. Like the reason behind it is that actually has sensor equipment in there because the reason this was successful and the way it was successful for the Raven Guard was that it does have more. It is more advanced and it can pick up more stuff. Um, but yeah,
I heard.
and
Yeah, my understanding of it was more specialized is the wrong word, but it was very effective at certain in certain mission roles, and so that. But it clearly it had wide use. It was very effective at certain things.
yeah, within that role, yeah, it became very effective when they kind of worked out how to use it.
Mm.
One looking at the plastic, the first Heresy Thursday, the plastic, the actual Mark 6. I do like the four color palettes they've used. So we've got a Raven Guard, a Night
Mm.
Lord, an Ultramarines in a very different
Very
Ultramarine
muted
color.
ultramarine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then the Death Guard, um, which is quite funny. Again, I've talked about it on the show before, but the official Death Guard scheme is different than the Death Guard scheme that's used on a lot of painted Forge World models for photos and stuff,
Mm.
because they're painted by Rudgy and they're painted quick, and his is slightly different. And lots of people copy Rudgy's scheme thinking it's the official, in inverted commas,
Mm-hmm.
Forge World scheme, but I think that's a Rudgy Marine there.
Really?
I think so. Yeah, but
I wouldn't call that a quick scheme.
no, no. He's quick with it,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
again, he's one of those guys. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I'm trying to remember, to be honest. Um,
The
but yeah,
ultramarine is really interesting. It's the Raven Guard looks cool.
yeah, yeah. I mean, they all look cool, but again, it's nice to see there. You've got, and we do have like, and people will lament that the style has changed. There is a specialist games design heavy metal team now that work with them. Like the style has adapted. It's not the same as the 40k heavy metal style. They do weathering and stuff like that, but it's not the full grim dark, like overly weathered and everything else that we had beforehand. Let me have a little look. Yeah, I think that is a Roger scheme. I'd have to double check with him. I'm looking back through Forge World's website, but yeah, we have here. And when you see the Sons of Horus themselves, like they're somewhere between those
Yeah, I
the
was thinking
like
that.
the old style and the new style, and we're going to see edge highlighting. Like, there's no point keep like kind of banging on about the good old days when they used to paint them differently or whatever. Um, like this is what we're going to get, and that's cool. And they're done very well. Um, and if you want to go a different way with it, you go a different way with it. But it's uniform. Then they know what they've got a thing set up now. And it's not going to change.
I really like that Sons of Horus scheme. It's a very saturated. It's much more where
Yes.
I like the Sons of Horus to go. I think that's. I mean, this seems to be there's more variation in Sons of Horus schemes
Yeah.
than most others, and I think that's it's one I particularly enjoy. It's where I would
Plas-
take my own.
Plastic Spartan looks great.
Yes,
Mark II
yes, it
Marine.
does.
Everyone's getting excited about a Mark II Marine poking his head out the door.
I've got to say,
Um,
more than people, everyone's very excited about and very keen to have Mark II in general, partly because Mark II's not been available for a long time.
yeah.
I'm personally more excited about a plastic Mark V.
Yeah, it'll be
I
interesting
think
to
the
see.
Mark V Assault Squad is a hugely underrated set
Yeah.
of models. Big fan.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. What's nice to see is that the heavy bolters are interchangeable with other. They've got some other options in there, which is cool.
Las cannons and flamers.
So yeah, a nice redesign on that model as well. So it'll be interesting to see where we go with some more tanks and maybe get turned over, and of course the dreadnought, as we say, with posability, with
Yes.
ball and socket joints, much like the resin kit. It'll be
A
interesting to see.
plastic kit. A plastic kit's going to be so good for
Ah,
doing
so
dynamic
good. And
poses.
multiple weapons in the box.
Yeah.
Um, be interesting to see if they then come out with a separate weapon kit.
I would have thought it's highly likely, surely,
It,
that they're
I
going to
mean,
sell a
easy
plastic
easy
kit
money
that will
in it.
do, yeah, a plastic kit with 3 wavy weapons and another power fist. Yes, please.
Yeah, exactly. So, because these are all right arm weapons, as it says
Yeah.
on there. So if they can keep mortises, then you have double weapons, which I suspect they will. Yeah, and the articles were good. I'd say the other thing is, like, yeah, those articles were all for new people. I've seen people, heresy people, getting a little bit kind of like, oh, it was a bit light. It's a Warcom article. It's not a novel. It's not an in-depth review of anything. Like they're pushing this game to people who already aren't already just going to go and buy it, and that's sensible. Um, we did talk about the Raven Guard laying siege to Fulgrim's perfect fortress. I say I've been so massively busy. I think we do need to, at some point to actually get around to going back and looking at the lore. I'm not going to talk about the rules because they're irrelevant um, to me because I'm not going to be playing old edition. What was nice to see is that they were actually written for the new edition and then retrofitted to fit the current edition.
Yeah. Because there was
So
some concern that
because
these,
they
and
didn't work.
valid concern that people were going to say, well, that was a nice little one shot
Yeah,
there. That was for then. We're not going to bring that forward because that was just someone doing it in their free time. No, quite. Well, yeah, it was written the other way round. It was written for this edition, and they changed it so that you could use it in the interim. I think that's really good. And the fact that they've
yeah.
come out and said that and just put that to bed makes it, you're going to see people while awaiting this. I'm sure people have been doing it already,
And it
building their
just
own little
makes
versions.
just makes more of a mockery of us who are trying to work out how good the units are for this edition, let alone trying to work out what rules might change for the new edition to make them to see
Nightmare.
whether they work or not, because it doesn't matter because they'll change when the new edition comes out. So all good. We're just going to move on from that. It was a nice article. Red armored Raven Guard looked pretty cool as well.
Hmm.
I'm kind of all over that, to be honest. Uh, yeah, I like.
And
And then
like you
what
say,
else?
the little hint there at further encouragement, perhaps, to consider variant loyalties, I think was very cool.
Mm,
Even
yeah,
within
definitely.
specific subsects of legions.
It appears that it could be a very you know something that's at the forefront, or not at the forefront, but very upfront in the
Hmm.
way that they are looking at the game. What interested me is whether the allies matrix will be the same, because again, like, why can't you have like Dantioch and Pollux? According to the
Hmm.
allies matrix, sorry, you know, you would never, they would never get on that well. Um, but there will always be exceptions to those rules.
Hmm.
So having the allies matrix is not a bad thing. Knowing you can break it,
Mm-hmm.
if you talk to your opponent, or if I run events, I'll probably won't even use the allies matrix. I'll be like, no, cool, just as long as you like, if your backstory is that there's these 20 odd, 30 odd dudes from this legion, and they're with their most hated legion, but actually they help them out, save their lives, and they're best buds now. Then cool, like crack on, like that's cool. Like that happens all the time,
Mm-hmm.
so let's not worry about that. And that's the thing. GW give you a lot of information, but they rarely force that information onto the way you play. As I say,
Mm.
their universe, your game.
Mm.
So crack on with that. Mortarion is coming out. That's the next Primarch book.
Yes, very nice
David
looking
Annandale.
special edition. Yeah, I was surprised to
Yeah,
see him come back again.
it'll be interesting. I when we used to have Michael on a lot, I did say that sometimes I struggle with David's sentence structure. I
Hmm.
find he can write many short sentences over a period, and sometimes the rhythm of it breaks me out. But that's just a me thing, I think, with his writing style.
Hmm.
Um, but on the other hand, he can write some really good stuff. Um, so yeah, at the end of the day, I'm still going to buy it and read it because I want to know, which will leave us with only Horus Sanguinius, and there's one other, I think. Can't remember.
Oh no, we've got Alfarius.
Alvarez, I won't even bother to check, but definitely Horus and Sanguinius might be the only two actually.
I think it is. I think there were only 3 left, and
Yeah,
with Mortarion being one of them.
I suspect they'll leave Horus to last, just to make
It's
a point.
interesting that it is those 2 that you've got that are left.
Yeah, I wonder if there's been authors attached, and maybe that's affected things.
Sanguinius was pitched,
Yeah,
but I don't think is going to go forward
yeah, by whom?
by James Swallow.
Yeah, that's what I remember hearing, and that was a
He was
while ago.
pitched, but I have a suspicion, given his recent quite considerable success with his own novel series.
Yeah, he's got yeah,
Yeah,
he's been what's the word for it when they've been picked up? Um, optioned,
uh, is that the show? Okay, yeah.
optioned. Yeah,
I
where
had
they've
certainly heard that the rights had been purchased, and
yeah.
he
So
was
optioned
part of
is
that.
yeah. We've got X amount of years to decide if we're going to do anything with this project, and we'll pay you
Mm,
money for that 3 years or whatever,
mm.
whether we do anything with it or not. Um, yeah. So yeah, he's been very successful, and I haven't. Yeah, I can't remember him doing much. I don't know how much um, Warhammer he's doing,
To
if
say
any, at the
pitched
moment.
perhaps is too strong a word. I don't know. I don't know that
Well,
for
pitched
sure.
is putting an idea forwards. Yeah,
Yeah, I suppose. I
yeah.
wasn't sure if it was just
There are different levels of
conversations had been
pitching,
being had. Yeah, I think
but
some conversations had been had, and I don't think
yeah,
it got further. I mean, this is years ago now.
whether it's officially or unofficially, it's been pitched.
Yeah, yeah,
He had,
exactly.
yeah, he had an idea for a story, and he put
There
it
were some
to them.
conversations, maybe,
Yeah,
and
um,
that's as far as that
yeah,
went. As far well, we haven't seen that book, so
no,
could well
no,
have been completely different conversations had with completely different people since that
yeah,
time.
exactly.
But because similarly, a lot of people got very excited, myself included, when Chris Raitt changed his icon just after Warhawk was released, the Siege of
Right.
Terror book, changed his icon on his Twitter avatar, changed to a Blood Angel icon.
Oh, did it?
Everyone went, "Oh my god, this is clearly a sign." And you're like, "What is it?" Or is it just a cool symbol? But either way,
Exactly.
there's lots of little rumbles, and John and ADB all been keen writers of such things, and Horace, that would be a challenge.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be cool.
But cool
Yeah,
that they're
who
picking them up.
knows?
Yeah, cool they're picking them up. The Primarch series is another
Yeah, it'd be good
entry
to
in
get that
because I
kind of
like them.
not out the way or anything, but to get that done. It's been hanging around a while and allow them to concentrate on other stuff. I think it'll be good.
Mortarian's one's going to be particularly interesting because they did what a lot of the Primarch's books tend to do. They have already done in a couple of the regular Heresy series.
Right, I haven't even read the blurb on what it's about, so I don't tend to bother.
No,
I'm going to read it
I
anyway.
don't think that's out there yet.
Oh, right, okay.
In that respect. Oh, there we
No,
go.
that's
Yeah.
good.
Okay. Yeah. There we go. There is a bit of blurb on the Warhammer in the Warcom article, but yeah, you tend to see what was covered in the Buried Dagger, I think,
Hmm.
you tend to see there's been flashbacks before
Yep.
of Mortarian's time on Barbarous, his rise
Yeah, I mean, it could be
to
just about
prominence.
X battle in the middle of nowhere,
Mm,
and a specific event or whatever, a specific learning point.
mm,
And that's the beauty of those series, I think, that you can jump around and do different things. Yeah, and with that, and in a way, it'll be nice to get the Siege and the Primarch series done
mm,
and allow the character series to carry on and whatever else they want to do within the Heresy to see where they go with that. I'm kind of a little bit excited to see all that stuff. Um, and just before we move on from all that stuff, so we were trying to find this before we started recording, but we talked about GW have said that all the Legion stuff, specific stuff, is staying resin for Heresy. Um, there has been mentioned, whether it's in the playtest documents or not, um, stuff about core units and or core kits and expanded units and kits. And there's a lot of stuff being discussed, like about what could potentially be going on with unit choices that people can't find at the moment and stuff like that. Um, but we did talk about like some of the bigger kits. We can't see some of the generic stuff going plastic. Uh, some of it's got to stay resin, surely. And Michael over at Edge of Empire did say that he saw it somewhere. I can't remember where. Um, that it said something like all core units or core kits will be going plastic, which makes sense. So whether I've given people the impression or that everything's going to go plastic, I don't think that's necessarily reasonable. And it'll be interesting to see what does go plastic. But as I say, things like the Mastodon, like I can't see it being plastic anytime soon.
I think the key there is anytime soon. I, who
Oh,
knows what the
never say
future might
never.
bring? Never
Never
say
say
never
never.
with these things, but there's going to be some that are both enormous and
But it also takes time,
niche. Yeah, it was a huge amount of time. As we
and these things change.
Plastics development takes a massive amount of time.
And this is the thing, you get it all the time in modern society, to be fair, where people are like, you said this, you would never do this, or this is going to happen. And it's like, yeah,
Mm,
but that was 4 years ago. Like, things are allowed to adapt and change. You can't hold promises like that forever. Um, there is an intention when they say these things, and they will be constantly reviewing it. But at the end of the day, they've only got X amount of plastic machines. They're still pumping out stuff. And there's lots of factors that all build into that. We don't know what new stuff we're getting. We know we're getting, like we've seen stuff about this new tank, like the one they showed off in the picture, in the video, stuff like that. And
mm.
they're always putting newish things out. So you would hope they continue to do that. Um, so yeah, like because the other thing as well is people are holding off waiting for plastic kits on certain models, and it's like, well, I think that's you weigh your chances up, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
Like I know I'm sitting there thinking when when these leak pictures came out and we did talk about it and we were like, actually, if I had to put money on it, I'm going to believe there's a plastic Spartan coming out. And
Mm,
other people are like, no, until I see a plastic Spartan, I'm not. I don't believe it. That's fair enough. That's cool. I was quite happy if I wanted to buy 3 Spartans over the last year and a bit. I'd have gone, nah, there's plastic ones coming. I'll wait
mm,
because I believed it based on what we knew. So could I do that with other kits? Do I believe the Fire Raptor is going to be fully plastic in the next year? Possibly not. Do I think the Cerastus Assault Ram's coming back fully plastic in the next 6 months? Maybe. Maybe not. you know.
there's got to be some. There are some choices that I feel like you could make an educated guess. I mean,
Yeah,
even more so when you see kits go on last chance to buy. I mean, that seems
exactly. I
kind of
think.
entirely obvious. A Leviathan,
Yeah, I mean
a
there'd be
Sakaran.
idiots not to like Leviathans in 40k, Sakarans. I mean,
I mean, there's just
why
such
why
a
wouldn't you?
Legion
Just
mainstay.
yeah,
But
just
you
why
start
wouldn't
with
you?
those.
Yeah,
You obviously you're
exactly.
going to start with certain kits, and then you're going to work your way through depending on its success.
Yeah,
Um,
and how much space and time and energy
yeah.
you've got around
So
that
there
as
are going to
well.
be more niche, regardless of the fact that they are usable by any legion. There are still some. units that are going to fall back. I would imagine Legion Outriders are going to take a while to get there, even
Yeah,
though
I
they're
mean,
probably going to be a
let's hope.
highly desirable thing to get.
I've got both fingers crossed. Let's hope jet bikes are soon,
Yeah,
because they will sell a metric
yeah,
bucket load of
yeah,
Legion jet bikes in
entirely.
plastic,
But
because
I
they
think
won't
there's a good
be
chance that
£35 a
that will
model.
come. That will come sooner
Yeah,
than some of the more. That's going to come
esoteric
sooner
units. Yeah, yeah,
than a Legion Saber,
yeah, yeah,
for example. I would you would
exactly.
seem
Or an
logical.
Arcus of Bombard. Yeah,
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 yeah.
exactly. Because
Those are
again, there's
more recent
scales.
resin kits, etc.
Yeah, that you need less of them, all that jazz. There's lots of stuff that can go into all that. But yeah, just wanted to talk about that, which just leaves us with um, Warhammer Fest,
Oh
4th
yes.
to 7th of May. So it's all online again this year. I suspect next year we might be having a proper fest.
Come on, that's what we want.
Indeed. Wow. Yeah, I'm still holding out hope, but not too much expectation that we get a Black Library Weekender. But yeah,
Not now,
yeah,
I
no.
don't think.
Well, you
Speaking
never
of
know.
events, though, they have promoted the fact that they are at in some force at UK Games
Oh yeah,
Expo,
UK Games Expo as well. Yeah,
hmm.
indeed, which is good.
which is in
Um,
June, I think.
yes,
Hmm.
yeah, up in Birmingham. Which will be cool. But Warhammer Fest is all online again, so there's shows on Wednesday the 4th, Thursday the 5th, and Friday the 6th, showing off 40k, Age of Sigmar, then Kill Team Warcry and Necromunda, although they've made some adaptations to some of this already because they showed off some stuff. They've obviously changed their sequencing on the releases at some point, which is all good. But Saturday the 7th is capped fully for the Warhammer, the Horus Heresy,
Mm-hmm.
which of course is the day of the open day as well. Um, don't know what they're doing, don't know what they're showing us. One thing I did see is people who are attending the event got some information about the event, which is quite nice. They're opening Bugman's at 9 when the event opens at 10. So people can go in for the first hour and get some food and drink. That's going to be rammed. Um, but they also did, within all that information, say that there will be new kits to buy on the day for the first time. Who knows?
Could be anything
Who
there, couldn't it?
it
Could be.
could
Are
be
they going to
anything.
be some new event exclusive miniature? Is it
Could
going
be
to be miniature
Carbanda
that other bunch? Oh, that's
as
true.
well. They could throw him in as one of them.
Mm.
Then it's coming out anyway. Why not have him there first, like a week before it's available to other people?
Mm-hmm.
That's not going to annoy too many people. But yeah, are they going to show off? I'm going to put my £1 on them showing off the new tank.
Well, at the event, you mean?
Definitely showing it off. I reckon it'll be for sale.
Oh, I think you're right.
So
Uh,
that's
before before the edition. Mm.
yeah, why not?
I think it'll be a character.
You might be right actually. No,
I think
stuff it.
it'll be
I'm
a
going
character.
for it.
I don't think the tank's going to be.
Should we excite some people? How about Khan's jet bike?
Nice. Nice. Can you imagine? People would go mad.
But yeah, who knows? It's all cool stuff as far as I'm concerned. It's just more.
Yeah, exciting. I think just hearing what that, well, as you say, seeing what that I think that event's going to be quite good because I would imagine it's going to be an experiment. It's the first time they've done an event like that. Certainly an event for this new edition, an event like this. So I think we might see some new formats there from what I'm hearing about what that event's going to be about for people who got tickets. Lucky son of a guns. Not that I can risk going anyway, sadly. Otherwise, I'd be there at front and even just camping outside. But the hearing about it, I'd imagine there's going to be some interesting activities there as well.
Yeah, I'm excited to see. Obviously, I'm going, and I have all of us who are going as the content creators have got some stuff to do on the day, but not a huge amount of time. The rest of the time, we're just attending the event. So cool. Like, I don't really know what's going on there. I haven't been sent, I suppose, because I haven't bought a ticket. I haven't been sent the same information. Um, but hey, that's the nature of the beast, isn't it? No, it'll be cool. Um, yeah, just again, as much as anything, looking forward to seeing people in a room excited about Warhammer again because there's a buzz, isn't there?
Yeah, exactly,
That
exactly.
we
And
all
I think that's going
miss.
to be part of it.
So yeah, I mean they're obviously going to show off the new edition and like on that day people can play it and stuff like that. So um, I wonder if we then get a how to play video on Warhammer Plus soon, because once they've shown it off to these many people, they don't like hiding stuff behind events anymore or
Hmm.
behind things like that. So the hope would be either that day or the Wednesday late, afterwards we get a Warhammer Plus section with a little bit of that on there just to do the
I think
basics.
it'll be on the day.
I would hope so, but
I'd imagine it's going
this
to be on the
is
day.
GW and it
They've been
doesn't
pretty good on
always
stuff
make
like
sense.
but they've
They
been
have.
pretty good with stuff like this recently.
Yeah, we shall I say we'll just have to wait and see on that, but it'll be cool if they could.
Hmm.
Yeah, and if you're on Warcom, you're going to see everything. Like, it's not quite the same as being there. But if you're just after information, then Warcom will have it all for you. Yeah, and it'll be good to see people.
Well, enjoy it. Represent all of, is the imperial truth. Just fly the
Indeed,
flag. Just
something
fly
like
the
that
flag there for something like that.
for
And
sure.
it should be. I think it's going to be good fun. I think you'll enjoy it, and just because it's an event, frankly.
Yeah, exactly. At the end of the day, it's an event at Warhammer World with Bugman's there, and I know at least a handful of people who are going to be there, so we can have a chat. And I met up with some of the content creators that I have never met before the other weekend, and that was good fun. So yeah, there's a couple who live. Well, no, there's one who lives near me, and a couple who were down near me for a day. So yeah, it's good fun. It'll be exciting times. See if we can make some new friends.
And I would imagine the next time we have the next discussion we have could well be packed full of all sorts of exciting stuff.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
We might see quite a ramping up of what with it all kicking off. I'd imagine.
Yeah, yeah. I say I don't really know what's
Well, we
going
don't.
on.
No, we don't know. But I would
So
imagine
like
we're going
waiting
to
for
have that
the
event to talk about, which is going
yeah,
to be good fun, and your experiences there. We may well have. We're going to be closer to a new edition.
exactly, and we'll know a lot more about that new edition. I
Yeah.
suspect.
Well, we'll have
I
had people who've
suspect.
played it.
Yeah,
Not least of which you will have.
yeah,
Others
because
will have.
because they have been playing it there, then they're going to have to get that information out there, and we'll start to see
Hmm.
the the edition preview
Yeah.
posts on Warcom as well, which will expand. Because I wouldn't be surprised if they only show a restricted amount of the game to give people a flavour for it, because there are going to be a lot of people who want to play it. So like when 40k was at Warhammer Fest, you got a
Hmm.
rough idea, didn't you, of what was going on and a couple of little things. So if they do have these reactions in the game, maybe using them, that kind of stuff, um, it'd be interesting to see how much of the game we see then. So we might have to we'll have to see how it goes and how timings are, but maybe we do an emergency pod in the middle. Um, we'll have to see what we've got to talk about.
If you're not
No
live streaming,
promises.
if you're not live streaming from the event, I mean, are you really podcasting?
Well, am I an influencer if I don't live stream?
Hi guys.
Hi guys, I'm here.
That would
We're
be
at the
amazing.
event, man. Yeah,
Can
I
you
think.
just call me and do that?
Yeah,
Not
I did just
not
do it
even doing it.
private.
Just do it to me. That'll be fine.
That's for top level patrons. For the $100 and above level.
Wow.
No, yeah. Who knows? We'll see. We'll see. I'll probably forget to do any posting of anything if I'm just wandering around talking to people. But I didn't see anything. I was in the bar chatting to all the people I haven't seen for 2.5 years. But yeah, we'll just see. Anyway, anything else? Or should we call it there?
I think we've probably we've gone on long enough with our
Indeed, and
tangents,
I'm
haven't we?
up early in the morning. I've got some stuff to do, which I didn't realise we were going to be on quite this late. It's taken us quite a while to get to this point, and I've got some painting to do, and then I'm going to get up really early in the morning.
This is arguably the last evening I had to do some painting for about the next
Sorry,
5
bro.
nights, and I was like, yeah, that's fine. Greg wants to do an early session, so do I. Let's just crack it out, get it done. I don't know why we kid ourselves that it's going to be something else.
You guys talking about all kinds of stuff at the start. I
That's
blame
what
you.
I'm here
It's
for. That's
fine.
what I'm here for.
Yeah. It's all good. Anyway, we shall leave it there. We'll come back and we'll have our chat with Ian. Cheers, man.
Cheers. See you next time.
Thank you for making it to the end of another episode of The Imperial Truth. You might have been expecting a little bit of a recording with Ian, but yeah, things happen. This episode's well delayed. We're going to leave that for later. I want to get this show out as it is. I am currently recording this outro in my car. You might hear a few creaks and things and the audio being a bit different. I've got a headset on. I'm waiting for our gaming hall to actually be free, and I'm trying to get this recorded so we can just get it out because it is pretty delayed. Baby and everything that was going on around the open day has meant that I have to spend some time with the family. Last few days it's just been impossible to get away and edit the podcast. So the Ian section will be in a later show. Obviously we haven't covered the open day either. We're going to do that later on. There will be some extra shows to make up for all this. There's some content that I'm just trying to organise recording as and when schedules allow, mine being a major one at the moment, but we will get that all done. I did want to correct one thing I said. There's a few things when I went through that, well, I mean, it was an episode that was going to be out before the weekend. I think we did alright in guessing what was going on. A few guesses that went awry, but I did say the Death Guard looked like a Paul Rudge one. I was very tired that night. Obviously, it doesn't look like that. We're going to talk about more. Well, we'll talk more about it, should I say, in future episodes. But the 18 individual Mark 6 were painted by the Specialist Games Design, the army painters they've got as part of that crew. So that was actually painted by a good man I know. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm not going to rattle on here, as I say, this shorter episode, but there will be episodes to make up for it, maybe even more than I would normally do to make up for something like this, all dependent on recording times, other people being available, and what we can do. There's a lot to talk about. I need to rearrange my life a little bit and make sure there's time to record and hobby and be around for the wife and be around for the baby. I'm sure you can understand, but we will get there, and we got lots of other things that we want to do as well moving forwards. Hopefully not going to be ending up using my lunchtime at work record editing, and then as I say, the spare few minutes I've got sat in the car outside the gaming club, but I'm sure it will get better and we'll have some juicy stuff for, well, what is a very exciting time in the Heresy. So until that time, you have been listening to The Imperial Truth.